Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, viewers, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to episode 6 of the Profile Show. I'm your host, 𝐓𝐇𝐄 𝐏𝐑𝐎𝐅𝐈𝐋𝐄 and with me in studio and also behind the production keys is my co-host, Lamin Jame, who is actually multitasking. And just before the show, he did confess that men cannot multitask. Women are better at multitasking. So I'm going to hold him accountable to that because he's doing a great job so far. In episode 5 last month, we had the privilege of hosting the brilliant Dr. Suleiman Jai. Dr. Njai shared his unique perspective as a political scientist, his experience working as a program analyst for the US government. Dr. Njai, however, left us with a thought-provoking analysis of the current political climate in the Gambia. This evening, however, we are thrilled to have Dr. Ismaila Badjie with us, a remarkable medical professional. Dr. Badjie has spent years helping patients take control of their health and is passionate about breaking down myths and encouraging proactive care. In this episode, we will dive into practical tips, common challenges, and the latest insights to help men live healthier, stronger lives as the month of November, or some will call it Movember, is dedicated to men's health. Dr. Badjie, welcome to the Profile Show. We are excited to learn from you.
No, thank you so much, 𝐓𝐇𝐄 and Lamin behind the scenes. It's truly an honor. Great fan of the work that you guys are doing, bridging the gap in communication and just sharing thoughts. And I look forward to our conversation today.
Great, thank you. We did clear with Dr. Badjie before the show backstage if to keep it formal or informal, and we're gonna keep things very, very informal. So we go with Ismaila, correct?
Yes, please, Ismaila. Yes.
Okay, cool. Lamin, do you want to come on board to say hello to our viewers before we kick things off?
Yeah, hello, viewers. Thank you, Ismaila, for honoring our invitation to be on episode 6 of the Profile Show with Lamin and 𝐓𝐇𝐄. This show is all about helping our younger generation. I often believe in having role models, good role models for that matter. Somebody you can actually look up to say, you know what, I think he's done well. You know, I'm going to try and be like him or her. So that's why we set up this show to bring people like Ismaila to come and share their journey with us, with a view to inspiring the younger generation. Or even maybe people of the same sort of age, maybe because it's never too late to try something, to try and influence or do something that would impact our generation for years and years. So that's why we have this. Today, we are honored to have you honor this invitation to appear on this show. Hopefully somebody somewhere would learn from your story and take something from what we discuss here today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lamin. Truly a pleasure.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Lamin. So Ismaila, just to kick things off, if you can walk us through, tell us a little bit about who you are in terms of your childhood growing up in the Gambia. What are some of those memories before moving overseas?
No, thank you so much, 𝐓𝐇𝐄. Oftentimes I tell people the first recollection of Gambia that I had was 1992 when my family moved back from the USA. And I remember it was like it was yesterday because I did not sleep that night. We came to Yundum Airport, there was no lights, and I was freaking out. So that's just a backstory to how the first 7 years of my life was. I was born in Banjul. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a Banjulian. But we left as an infant because of my dad's career. He's retired now, but he was a diplomat. So it took us to Belgium for 2 years and then New York for about 5 years. So we came back as young kids and really reintegrated to Gambia anew. So we came home very similar to how most diasporan kids that come back to Gambia cannot speak the local language, haven't started going to Quranic lessons, and had an entire immersive experience. So I technically only lived in Gambia from the age of 7 to 17, those 10 years. But I think it was very formative because luckily my family made sure we got as good of an experience as a foundation before moving back as well. So that's really what my childhood was like. My dad had a very long career as a diplomat. He retired as a Gambian ambassador in 2017. So much of our lives and our siblings was always in and out. So I consider myself a hyphen sometimes because half of my world has always been away from the Gambia. But I'm still very proud of the family that I'm from, you know, my ancestral roots on both my mom's side and my dad's side, and just the 10 years that I spent in Gambia going to school, both in public and private school as well.
Oh, great. How was the integration for you though? Like you said, having to learn the local languages, starting school, kids taking the mix sometimes. There's a new guy from the diaspora. So how was that? How was some of those experiences for you?
No, challenging. I think at the age of 7, your whole world revolves around whether or not you fit in. And I think it's easier sometimes if you're a white person coming to Gambia and cannot speak the language versus you know, people see you as Ismail Badjie, but they're speaking Mandinka or Wolof to you and you're like, I don't know what you're saying. So I understand that where when you start speaking, people look at you. So as a 7-year-old, it becomes rough, but also I feel like children are a little bit more innocent. So you become the new kid in school, but it actually forces you to learn languages a little bit more. So I'm grateful for it because it also teaches you at a very early age how to adapt to a new environment, how to be resilient, how to be proud of who you are. And oftentimes our childhood experiences influences who we are as adults. So I'm very, very grateful for it. And I think it's the best decision my father did for us because I think it would have changed us in terms of who we are if we stayed in the USA our entire life.
Yeah. That's absolutely. I recall going to school with one of your siblings, your elder brother, actually. I think he was my senior in that was comprehensive.
Malik.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was comprehensive. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So in terms of your career, like, was there a moment that you knew that you were gonna study medicine?
No, I tell people I'm an accidental doctor of pharmacy, to be honest. And I'll tell you why. You know, oftentimes people in the medical profession have an inspiration. Their father is a medical doctor, or their mom is a medical profession, or there's a lot of pressure to be a medical, professional. That was not the case for me. I just happened to go to Gambia High for high school, which was a family tradition. All of us had to go to public school for high school because my father wanted us to know the reality of actually going to school with people that are not in the private school system. And if you're a science student in Gambia High, it's a foundation. I think science school in Gambia High School is more difficult than most 1 to 2 years of universities around the world. So I actually left to go be a civil engineer because my dad probably thought like it sounded good. I got to university at the age of 17 in the USA, and I realized that I want no parts of being an engineer. So I just changed my major to chemistry. So I actually did a chemistry degree for my first degree because it's a good foundation degree. If you do it, typically you have few pathways: go be a medical doctor, go be a pharmacist, go be a dentist, or go the PhD route as well. And I just followed my curiosities, but I've never had an inspiration to be in the medical profession. I'm the first and so far the only person in my family who's in the healthcare field. But, they say God puts you down a path sometimes for a reason. So the more I understood my background, the impact of health on my family, my mom's family, it just came full circle as well. So that's why for most young people, I tell them, don't rush. Because it's very unrealistic to make a 17-year-old boy choose a career that he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. So, and luckily now our parents are evolving where it's not lawyer, doctor, engineer, or black sheep. They realize that there's more things that a kid could do while following their passion and have a fruitful life from it. But yeah, it was definitely accidental.
Right. Okay. Like you said, it's all about following your passion. And at the age of 17, you cannot decide where you want to be. We're all there at one point. Like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. But then, as you mature, as you grow older, as you learn, you get educated. You're like, okay, maybe I haven't got passion in this. Maybe this is the route that I want to follow. And I think like at one point, you always find your purpose in life. Like, you always go to the career that defines your purpose in life, and because you enjoy the sport, you're passionate. That's one of the things I always say to my nieces and nephews, and even like my younger siblings. I'm like, do what you gonna enjoy. Like in terms of your career, do something that you know that you enjoy. Have a passion in it, because if you don't have a passion in it, it's gonna be very short-lived. Like you'll be jumping from job to job, and you don't want that. You want a career. A career is something that you have to be passionate about. So yeah, really good that on you sharing that with us. Thank you, Doctor. Oh, thank you, Ismaila. He's gonna be happy to keep up with the info.
That's perfect fine. And you know, I'll tell you something. Most people, I tell them I chose even to go the doctor of pharmacy route because I've never seen myself as somebody who could do something forever. And one of the downsides of the medical profession is you spend a lot of time in school. I was in school till I was 28. And then you start, and the first job that you have, you could stay in that role doing the same thing for 30 years, right? So it could be very restrictive. And I think a lot of people don't realize the struggle that a lot of medical professionals go through, where they feel like they're stuck. They've invested so much to get a degree, but if you fall out of passion, you can't go into a lot of other things. So I think it's always good, especially for young people that do want to choose the medical profession, to think long term, because who you are at 30 is going to be different from who you are at 40. And oftentimes we don't have the flexibility like a lot of our art students and our commerce students that could pivot, learn a new skill, and be competitive globally. Because medical professions also, it's very difficult for you to be competitive globally, because where you graduate school determines your fortunes a lot, especially now where immigration could be a limitation, where if I had a MBA, for example, or I studied, computer science, I have more leeway than a medical professional. It's just the prestige most of the time, but I think we need to humanize and demystify the medical profession, especially in this day and age.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah, you're right. It's not as flexible as other routes like the arts and the commerce, where you can, like you said, you can pivot at any time. Well, most times you can. Yeah. Thank you.
Ismaila, thank you very much for taking us through that journey of how it all started from you, being born in the Gambia, and then eventually traveling with the parents who are in the diplomatic service, and finding yourself at university at 17 and accidentally, to borrow from what you said, to go on to study chemistry as your first degree. And then the career in pharmacy, we know in the West that is a big career, and it can be very rewarding as well. And I'm sure, I followed you quite a while. You've done tremendous work in that department or in that discipline in the US. And then all of a sudden, bang, pack your bags, back to small Gambia to set up 𝐓𝐇𝐄 Global Health. What inspired that decision? Because that's a big step to take, to go and set up something in the Gambia. And we know, how challenging things can be. Can you take us through that journey? What was behind that thinking, and why you left everything behind in the US to go and set up shop in the Gambia in medical or healthcare delivery service?
Yeah, no, I think it's two things. First is the family that I come from. I tell people my dad at an early age instilled in us that we owe a debt to the country. The country doesn't owe us a debt. No. And service, at some point, you have to come home and serve, because he also came back and he spent an entire career serving. So I think we grew up in a very patriotic family because of my dad and my grandmother on my mom's side, Aja Fatim Menga, who was the Yai Compin to Jawara. So they instill sense of duty to nation early. But I think the impetus for me is I had left Gambia. I was going to school. I came home in 2011 when I was a student. a pharmacy student, for the first time, that's when the reality of our health system hit me. And I'm like, okay, I think 𝐓𝐿𝐹 was born on that trip, because I came home and I realized that no matter how successful my career could be, because in the USA, success is almost guaranteed as a healthcare professional. Especially, I was going to a top 10 school in the USA. I was heavily recruited coming out of school. I know what that path was going to be. But there was a level of discomfort knowing that, especially after I started practicing, and I was lucky because in the USA, and I think it's a missed opportunity sometimes in Gambia, if they see a young talent, they put an ecosystem around you to push you further very, very fast, so that more people benefit from it. Some people will say you're the token, minority in the company, whatever it is. I was that for Walgreens when I came out of school, and they pushed me into leadership and really trained me on building health systems at a very early stage. So 1 or 2 years after going out of school, I was managing multi-million-dollar health systems and things of that nature. So, but on the flip side, I mean, I realized, okay, my grandmother died at 56. It's not normal for somebody to die from diabetes and hypertension from 56. With healthcare, the more you understand how health system works, the more opportunities you see in Gambia. I use opportunities and not problems, because opportunities puts you in a mindset of finding solutions for it. Problems puts you in the mindset of being a victimhood for it as well. So a combination of those things, but at the end of the day, it's always God, because I don't advise it to people what I did, because 9 times out of 10, it could be the worst decision you ever make, because at your particular career point, early 30s, your earning potential, you decide to play out your savings, sell your home, destroy your family dynamic, and come to build in Gambia, sometimes could be one of the riskiest propositions you could take. But I think God has always a lot of things to do with how the decisions that we make. But the impetus was just that, gaining experience, confidence, but realizing that, okay, I cannot wait till I'm retired and tired to come and try to serve. I'm more energetic now to sacrifice my entire 30s, essentially, building something that at least if I look back, I could say I contributed a little bit to it. So that's really what factored into it for the most part.
Right, interesting. It's for you, it's more like what you can give back to the community from what you've seen when you were a student. I think that's not...
But also building, Lamin, part of the reason why I don't think we should shape coming back home as a sacrifice. Africa has an opportunity to make wealth, especially in the next 20, 30 years. And I think oftentimes when non-Gambians are coming home, they're coming home to harvest economically. When Gambians are coming home, there's an expectation of sacrifice, which shouldn't be the case, because healthcare, if you do the research, the healthcare retail market in Africa over the next 20, 30 years is close to 300 billion, meaning there's a massive opportunity in healthcare. So we that have Western training, but locally rooted, we should have a competitive advantage to come and build in Africa to create wealth. Yeah, so I'm always careful about shaping it as like come and sacrifice. No, wherever there's problems, there's opportunities to solve those problems and get rewarded so that your business could grow. So that was also part of the mission, knowing that, okay, healthcare should not be that difficult to at least help strengthen, especially if the numbers are in your favor, because 65% of our population is young. Most young people just need access to primary health care and preventative care. So it's understanding the business really is one of the reasons why I still bet on Africa and Gambia, even though, I mean, short term, you could wipe out a decade of earnings, which in my case, that's what it is. But if I look at long term, it's worth the squeeze.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned you see it as opportunities, setting shop in healthcare industry in the Gambia and Africa by extension. And where there's these opportunities, there's going to be challenges. what is it like running 𝐸𝐸𝐻 healthcare delivery service in the Gambia? There's bound to be challenges. What are these challenges? Could you share this with us then?
Yeah, I start calling the challenges school fees. Gambia and Africa makes you pay school fees, and it's the school of hard knocks. And I think for us, what we trying to do was so disruptive that we were bound to have challenges, because oftentimes in most ecosystems, innovation could move faster than regulation. That means you're going to face challenges. Innovation that is disruptive, as it changes the status quo, because most Gambians, I ask them, who was the most prominent company in healthcare growing up? It's very difficult to name a private company outside of the government to say that, you know what, this is the Africell of healthcare, or this is the QCell of healthcare, right?
Yeah.
And anytime you cannot name that, it means that people that had the opportunity to build did not stay in the market long enough to win, right? So you're gonna face challenges, but also I've always said, Gambians, we have to recalibrate our relationship with the diaspora, because they want our money, but they don't want our ingenuity sometimes, right? Oftentimes, people play defense against us using us. So in business, what that means is any sector that you come, there's an invisible hand who holds that sector. So no matter how your business model is astute, you're gonna face challenges where they're gonna make sure you earn the right to stay. But if I was to narrow it down to two things that are more just by virtue of Gambia: access to capital, and then access to human resources. Because people like yourself, people like Kadi that are talented are not in Gambia, right? So if you build a business that requires human capital, you're gonna struggle in Gambia in the beginning. Either that, or you're gonna have to be Superman. You're gonna wear so many hats, and that means it's gonna be taxing. And then the second thing is access to capital, because you cannot raise enough money to compete with people that come to Gambia with bottomless wallets and don't need the local banking system. So those are some of the things from an economic perspective. It really puts you at a disadvantage, which is why a business like ours, we realize that we speak more to the diaspora, because we know our business relationship with the diaspora is the reason why 𝐸𝐸𝐻 has had a fighting chance to stay alive, but we still haven't, crossed over to thrive. But the challenges are going to be endless. Some of them are us getting in our own way. Some of them is the structure is broken. In my sector, it's conflicts of interest, because most of the times you're dealing with people that are the referee and a player. So they close the door. But all those challenges is opportunities, and whoever starts first gets hit the most. So any sector, if you're a leader, you'll get praise, but you're gonna get a lot of arrows behind your back. But eventually you'll make it easy for the next healthcare entrepreneur to come and open up shop, would be benefiting from my experience the same way I'm benefiting from leaders in Gambia. There's some Gambians like the Mohammed Jazz of the world, the Uncle Tafs of the world, that no matter what it is, though these people are homegrown, this is where they built, and all of them have more stories about challenges, but they persevered to make it happen as well, and that's necessary. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I like your business model. Obviously, you went in there and then studied the ecosystem and really made a decision on how you're going to survive, have a fighting chance, is to actually focus on the diaspora, because there's a lot of Gambians outside. And they have still a lot of family in the Gambia, and these family are going to need healthcare. And then we look at our main government healthcare institutions. They are not actually adequate for the population. So you're coming in and then looking at the environment. This is how we can survive. I think that's fantastic. So could you maybe talk to us about some of the services, the healthcare facilities that 𝐸𝐸𝐻 actually, because I can, following you're going to the last maybe mile in the country to deliver your services. This would come at a cost. How do you actually, do this? Is it cost effect, low cost service you're doing? at a reduced quality, or are you producing or providing quality service at a low cost? And how do you do this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think healthcare in Gambia, you have to make a decision before you start. Gambia is very easy to make money in healthcare if it's transactional.
Right.
Buy, sell. You come and see the doctor, they give you prescriptions, half of which you don't need them. You pay a lot of money. 3 months later, you come back for the same problem because you're not getting better. There's nothing wrong with people that use that business model. Their investors will actually say it's smarter, and the route that we're taking is harder because we believe in social impact. I fundamentally believe in conscious capitalism, meaning there's a way to democratize access that's sustainable, but it doesn't make sense for me to sell Gambia this idea of healthcare equity. But the moment somebody lives in Birkamaba or Soma, I've removed them outside of healthcare, because that, to me, you're saying now your geographical location, or for a diasporan perspective, if you are in Italy as a Gambian, but your grandmother wants to stay in Soma, I am communicating to you that I only care about the diasporans who live in the diaspora, but their family members are in the greater Banjul area. So from day one, also understanding where the opportunities lie, I noticed a pattern in Gambia. Every private sector healthcare that opened came and opened either Banjul, Combo, or as furthest they'll go is Birkama. But you realize that 40% of the Gambian population still live in the rural country, and most of them are elderly. And those people are healthcare deserts, right? So I realized that if you could build a model where it's community pooling, and this is where my US experience comes into play, because it's subsidized healthcare, meaning the community is subsidizing each other. So if I charge, let's say, $6 for 1 month worth of medication, for example, right? The more people that subscribe to the subscription, the easier it is for me to deliver it to the furthest person. So I may only make 2% margins for somebody in Basse, but I may make 30% margins for somebody in Combo. But at the bare minimum, for every person in Combo that joins our subscription program, you are now covering the fuel costs for somebody in Birkama, somebody in Basse. So it's very intricate. And now, obviously, we have brick and mortars now because we just opened clinics in Soma, Bada, Basse, and Birkama. But that was the incentive, because my success was measured by, if Donald Trump is on a cholesterol medication and he fills his prescription in Washington, D.C., I am going to build a model where that same medication that's in that bottle, I want somebody else's grandmother in Basse to receive that same medication. And we achieved that, actually. And you build a unit economics. Obviously, our business model is our secret sauce, but you don't chase 100% margins, profits. You play the volume game and you play the long-term game, because I'll tell you something, Lamin and Kadi, most people don't realize Innovrex is a health data company before we're a healthcare service provider, because we've come in contact with at least about 10% of the Gambian adult population. And we know that at least 40% of the Gambian adults already have a chronic condition that requires at least one medication a day. So that means that there's at least 366,000 Gambian adults who need Innovrex to knock on their door every single month and give them medication that, when you buy products from Boots in the UK, you never leave pharmacy thinking, is this going to work? You don't even worry about that. Yeah. So we're really playing the long-term game, but understanding that, okay, now if I could find 30% of the population and keep them for 30 years, I'm building a health ecosystem that actually I could measure how well people are going. But it's also rooted in, you minimize profits now to help more people until more people could help more people. That's our philosophy. And we've done it that way. So we've made free of charge getting screened for healthcare. We believe in going into rural Gambia. We've built a great relationship with people's families in the diaspora. So that's just been how we've chose to do it. It hasn't been the most profitable in the beginning for obvious reasons, but the longer we stay, the more impact we're able to have.
That's a very clever, clever and noble way of actually having an impact in what you do in Innovrex. And I think obviously going the last mile of that country, having access to quality healthcare, no matter where you are, I think that's really is a fundamental human right. And if a private company like yours is coming in to deliver that service, I think you mentioned the survey or the statistics or data that you have, that pretty much the adults have a chronic illness that they don't need medication. That's staggering. And I think that's why it's critical. It's very important to have companies like yours really be given the room to actually do what you do to help in the healthcare delivery of that country. So I just wanted to before I finish, the last thing for me is really what does 𝐸𝐸 actually do in terms of healthcare delivery? Is it across all the mental health of the people, diabetes, or could you give us a lowdown of that? Because I've got a couple of questions around mental health that I wanted to ask you, but I just wanted to know first, what areas specifically, health related that 𝐸𝐸 covers. Is it, generic, general, or just specific?
No, yeah. So the easiest way to describe what 𝐸𝐸 does is we try to capture people as early as possible, and we try to keep them as long as possible. So we use capture and keep, and I'll explain what that means for basic terms. Most people don't know where they are on their healthcare journey, especially people that have family members, because our health-seeking behaviors as Gambians only when in time of crisis and emergency. But also for people in the diaspora, at the moment of crisis is when they ask you to pay 5,000 pounds or dollars for a problem that you could have solved with $100 5 years ago, right? So our entire ecosystem, we also realize that healthcare with emergency care and hospitalization, there's not much we could do because it's Gambia. But we know majority of the people, once again, going back to the 40%, if they have a chronic condition like diabetes and hypertension, the first thing we were really good at doing is finding out where are you? Basic assessment. So much of our interaction with customers are, let's just find out where you are so that we could put you in a box. Do you have a chronic condition that needs continuity of care? Or are you okay for now? And then we use the Western model of every year preventative screening. Every year preventative screening. So the moment you flip over, you go from preventative screening to continuity of care. And from a healthcare perspective, we know that healthcare is not complicated. Every health encounter with a human being puts you on a path of three ways. Either you're healthy and they'll tell you, come back again and see us. If you have a diagnosis, they're either going to put you on a prescription or you're going to need a procedure, right? 𝐸𝐸 is not going to help you with the procedure. But if they're going to put you on a prescription to keep you alive and healthy, we are really, really good at making sure that prescription will get it to you every single month. And then all the labs that we need to do to make sure you're getting better, we provide that service, which is why healthcare subscriptions or health plans is what we sell to people in the diaspora. So for example, if your mom is hypertensive, you bring them to 𝐸𝐸, we'll always confirm the diagnosis, especially if it's chronic conditions. And then after that, we'll say, Lamin, okay, we're going to charge you $100 a year, and we will take medication to your father or your mom every single month and every 3 months, because we know it's not only medications, access to the doctor. So we bring in the primary care physician model, access to diagnostic tools to make sure the medications are working. So we really capture you as early as possible, and then we keep you as long as possible. Prevent oftentimes two things that we prevent at 𝐸𝐸: hospitalization and early mortality. And I keep mentioning the diaspora because, Lamin, when my grandmother was dying when she was 56, we were a family living in the diaspora. My mom was working in New York, sending money, had no idea that her mom's diabetes was out of control until she had a stroke. When I was working in the USA as a pharmacist, my own mother diagnosed with diabetes and hypertension, living in Gambia. So she was lucky because I was buying medications from the USA and sending to her at home. So patterns are very similar. So that's really what we do. We don't do hospitalizations. We don't do urgent care. We try to capture people's healthcare status. And then if you have a chronic condition, we help manage you all year round.
Right. Okay. So does this involve any, I mean, I don't know whether this is how prevalent this is. In the West, people go through a lot of mental health challenges. Because of the environment, you know. Do you come across these in the Gambia?
A lot. It's one of the most undiagnosed, but also the services that are available are underutilized. So there's a double-edged sword. Most people don't diagnose it, but most people don't like seeking it because there's a stigma attached to it. Or from a mental perspective, they think you have to be Hercules, Superman, 𝐷𝐿 to a point where when you're struggling with a lot of issues, you don't seek care. So we've had a very unique experience with mental health services because we offer it at 𝐓𝐿𝐹, but it's the most underutilized service. Even our staff members that have access to mental health services don't utilize it as well. But it's prevalent. Very few people accept if they're going through times in their life that they need chemical support to kind of treat depression or just go through a lot of issues. One thing that has changed, I think the conversation is happening more. And I think healthcare begins not at the hospital, it begins in your mind when you start thinking about it, talking about it. So I think there's a lot of efforts. Even the government has made significant efforts this year in terms of mental health, making it a part of healthcare. But if you live in a society that's very patriarchal, that's very religious, and high stigma, mental health services are always going to be underutilized. That's what makes it challenging in the Gambia. But there are some incredible professionals.
Lovely. Yeah, so that brings me to my question. Obviously, as a healthcare professional, having a company that's delivering healthcare service across up and down the country, how do you think we can integrate mental health discussion in our normal day-to-day healthcare conversations to maybe raise awareness? You did say the government is doing well in raising awareness in mental health because there's still a lot of stigma attached to it. People would rather keep somebody with mental health challenges on the wrap than actually talking about it and seeking help. How do you integrate this? How do you think you can integrate this in your day-to-day healthcare conversations?
So I think few ways. I think we need to re-educate majority of the population to understand that most mental health issues are a chemical imbalance, right? It's actually not something that is somebody could be immune to. All of us at some point have chemical imbalances that could affect our mood, or sometimes you could have a psychological issue that also could be genetic of nature. Somebody took you to the marabu. These are some of the things we need to understand. And the way you do it is threefold. I think you need to start educating kids about mental health at primary school level to understand that it's normal. If you're feeling this way, that means this is low. I think you need to integrate it into our communities at community level. Either community events, religious leaders need to start talking about it from a perspective of how human beings are prone to it. And then you have healthcare professionals being off-takers of individuals that go through it, but also showing success stories of people that are living healthy lives with the right amount of care. So every single Gambian would have to be involved, but even at our family level, I ask people how many times when it's time for lunch, does the family elder sit down and just go around and tell people, tell me how you feel. Does the world feel heavier than it should be? Right? Our young boys given an opportunity to cry with their fathers. Our fathers giving an opportunity to say that I'm struggling in retirement because I don't know, loneliness is killing me, right? So if it's not happening at family level, it's not going to happen at national level. Absolutely. Because oftentimes our behaviors around the dinner table, if people even eat at the dinner table anymore or around with the same bowl, the country is a reflection of the things we talk about at home or we don't talk about at home. So it's really multifaceted. And also speaking in local languages, which has been the biggest shift for my journey in Gambia now. where the first 5 years I was speaking too much English. I was just losing most people. The moment I started communicating in English, it feels like everybody started listening. And it's a good lesson for people like us that spend too much time in the diaspora. We realize that you have to speak the people's language and explain great concept ideas. And medical professionals, I don't think we do a good job with communication. So you have to explain it at a level that a 5-year-old who does not speak English could understand that when I wake up and feel down, it's okay, but there's a way around it to not feel down. So a lot of factors.
Lovely. Thanks for that. And finally, for me, really, is you talk about mental health being a chemical imbalance in people, or some of the ailments that people come to you with. But some people believe natural is safe. What do you say to that? What's your take on that? Do you say, should I take something natural that is natural rather than taking something that contains some chemical substance in it? What's your take on that from a healthcare professional point of view?
Yeah, I said I'm a fan of. I'm not a fan of either or. I'm a fan of and, because you cannot remove the history of Africa, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, the knowledge and wisdom that they had, and they've been using it to get tangible benefit. Where we failed compared to Asia is we did not continue study it, to dose it, to make sure it's safe and effective, but rooted in home remedies, right? So I always tell people it's not either or, it's and. What I have learned and have knowledge about is if your blood pressure is extremely high or your blood sugar, if I give you, and I measure it, and let's say it's 300, if I give you this tablet, 1 hour later, I measure it, it's going to be lower. That is more of objective way. So I tell my aunts and uncles all the time, just say and, take this and that, because this is what we know. Because what I tell people is when you are stuck, then you run to the hospital. You've never heard somebody go into a diabetic coma and they take a local guy to drink a herb to bring you back to life. Right? Most of them cannot even do CPR. So if you refuse to come sooner or later, when you come, it will be more expensive for you. And even if you leave the hospital, you will not leave the hospital the same human being again, right? So I think Africa has an opportunity to study our local herbs, because even chemical medications come from natural sources. So it's almost like counterintuitive when people say I'm anti-medicine, but medicine comes from plants most of the times, right?
From herbs,
It's just studied. But also Gambia is risky because they regulate me as a healthcare professional more than they do, even though I've gone to school for decades and decades, more than they do my uncle, who just starts mixing herbs and goes to Westfield and starts selling it and telling people it cures everything except death.
Wow.
So we have to have a nuanced conversation about that. But when people swear by moringa, they swear by a lot of things. I tell them, yes, anti-gilla some moringa, but take it, but please take your metformin, because I know the metformin is going to work. But I think any African, we should not even tolerate people trying to downplay our local herbs, because our grandmothers, all of us have a grandmother or great-grandfather who the herbs is what used to do the trick for them as well. So we still have to preserve that as much as possible.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a very, very objective and a valid, neither or no, that and that, plus that. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. That's it for me for now.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. Just to take you a little bit back to your conversation with Lamin in terms of how you do delivery, your services that you provide. It sounds like, so do you do door-to-door delivery? Because I'm just thinking about transport in Gambia, like some of the roads and all that. Like that would be a bit challenging.
Yeah. So motorcycle delivery.
Wow.
Motorcycle delivery. So the way the system works is every 28 days, we load up a motorcycle with prescriptions, and we start at Bara, and we go all around Gambia in 2 days, drop off medication to parts of the village. There's some villages that my drivers go to that I have never been to in my life. Some of those villages are so remote that during the rainy season, we have to give people 3 months supply because you cannot access those villages to get medications. So locally, so we leverage, that's why our business model is brick and mortar, clicks and wheels. So Wellness on Wheels, that's what it does. We use motorcycle deliveries to deliver all over Gambia, but also with the patients that are here sometimes, we get in vehicles and our nurses also go into people's homes because some of our treatment plans involves a nurse actually going into your homes to make sure your loved ones are taken care of, making sure we know what they're eating. But most of our last mile delivery is motorcycle drivers. Yeah.
Right. Wellness on Wheels. I like that, actually. Yeah. Would you say that's unique to your company, to Innovates?
Yeah, in Gambia, it's never been done before, and I think, I mean, we've been in Gambia for 6 years. Nobody is still trying to do it because it requires cost, it requires logistics, and you're going to eat into your margins, right? I think it would have helped us even if it was more companies in healthcare willing to deliver products all over Gambia, which is fine. But hopefully with a lot of advances in technology, I mean, it'll be more efficient, but yeah, we're the only ones that have been doing it. And we're still the only e-commerce retail as well too. So our online store, even if it's like Tylenol or something that you need, you could be in the diaspora, you order Tylenol on our website and we deliver it to Gambia the same day most of the time. So it's definitely unique to Innovarex.
Right. Okay. Just before I carry on, I just want to check with Lamin. Have we got anything on Facebook, any questions or anything like that our viewers wanted to ask Ismaila? Anything online?
So we've got comments, some of them, majority of them coming from YouTube, but it's more like, you know, saying hello and really just joining the show. There's no particular question to Dr. Ismaila for now. Yeah, so as soon as anything pop up, there's a question, healthcare question, then I'll read it out.
Okay, cool. Hopefully this segment of our show will prompt people to ask a bit more questions, especially men. So as we are in November, I like to call it, and many people call it November because it's dedicated to men's health, as you both know. So let's touch a bit on that. In your professional opinion, what's the easiest habit men can start doing today that would help them or that would pay off big time in the long run?
Remove the ego from health-seeking behaviors.
I like that.
Most men in Africa only care about healthcare when it has to do with their sexual vitality. That's the running joke. It's the truth. If you want to see a man prioritize his health, let him start having problems in the bedroom, or he starts seeing something that's not working well. That's when nothing else is more important. And because of our nature, we don't reach the healthcare facility early enough. Most of our sisters are mothers by nature of just pregnancy. It gets them early exposure to healthcare. Most men don't seek healthcare unless it's a crisis or an emergency. And they're oftentimes more in denial about conditions that exist like diabetes and hypertension. So it's more likely for a man to be non-compliant to treatment than women. So most of it is not even the health system, which is why even most men that complain about the health system don't seek the health system until there's something's wrong, which is funny because if you ask most men describe the health system, they describe the emergency healthcare system. They never describe the health system in terms of you just want to check your blood pressure. You walk to your place and check your blood pressure because healthcare is one of the most, it's so accessible. Gambia has the highest level of accessibility for healthcare than most West African countries. It's hard for us to conceptualize that, but West African countries come to Gambia for healthcare a lot because of our healthcare is so accessible and it's non-discriminatory and it's almost free of charge. But most men is, do you own your healthcare journey and do you act on it before it becomes a problem that slows you down? That's the fundamental thing with men with healthcare, health-seeking behavior. It has to be either bleeding, broken, or burning for us to run to a hospital. And when we go, you tell them, hey, yes, you're 30 years old. You have hypertension. You have diabetes. You need to take your medications every single day. If not, more than likely, we're not God, but you're not going to celebrate your 65th-year-old birthday. And for most men, I think us healthcare professionals need to start changing how we explain the risk to them. Because if I am 40, which I am now, I have a son who's not even 2 years old. I have been hypertensive since I was 28 years old. And this is not an example. I actually have been hypertensive since I was 28. Every single day for the past 10 years, I've been taking medication for high blood pressure. I'm taking it because statistically, if I don't, by the time my son is 20 years old, I would have been dead already. Because most men in my family don't celebrate 65 years old. And majority of them die from either hypertension via a stroke or they die from diabetes via amputation. So I know the history. So me, I don't have to wake up every single day and convince myself that I really need to take my medications. Every year, I need to go and check my kidney function level. I just need to look at my kids and realize that even my daughter that is 7 years old, if I don't take care of my health, I'm not going to be around to decide who she's going to marry. And I really want to have a say in who she marries. Just saying, So it's just the reality of it. But, hopefully it'll change. But even our patterns, men are harder to treat. Men deny more. Men are less compliant. So it's just a lot of those factors. And it comes just down to our ego. We think we're bulletproof. We spend too much time chasing status and money. And then we get old and we realize that if you're not healthy, the status cannot buy you health. The money cannot buy you health. So it's just having that conversation, which I'm always a fan of talking to men with honesty, but also using myself as an example.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thanks for sharing that as well. Your own personal health with us. Hopefully, our viewers and anyone who's going to rewatch the show later will pick that up. Yeah, thank you. I think because I was going to say, because men sometimes, well, I'm not going to say sometimes, men like to wear because of their ego, they like to wear stress like a badge of honor. And again, that goes into that. So so if you were to give every man one health tip today on a sticky note, what would you say?
I'm sorry, this is Gambia, by the way. The lights just went off. The advice would be most men like control. Most men. Our society almost teaches us how to control things. We like controlling our kids. We like controlling most of our female counterparts. That same level of enthusiasm you have with control your health. That's the biggest advice I give men, because most of these healthcare conditions, you either control it or it's going to control you, right? And it's just being proactive with controlling your health to understand that sooner or later you are going to start wearing out as a man. And you don't do it for yourself. Do it for your children. Do it for your wife. That way it changes the dynamic. So a man, especially a man above 30, if you cannot tell me what your blood sugar is, what your blood pressure is, what your cholesterol level is, your kidney function level, something that in most areas in the West, that's why they make it free. Go and do your annual physical. Even the government will pay it for you, right? I would just say take control. The same level of control that you like, control your health that way. It makes it a whole lot easier, because now even conditions like HIV, which used to be a death scare, nobody wants it. It's easier to manage that in 2025 than it is to manage diabetes. 20 years ago, if you told somebody that, they'll think you're out of your mind. But it is true. Somebody living with HIV, a man living with HIV, is easier to manage than a man living with diabetes or hypertension, because of the dynamics of where the technology is, the medications. But just take control, right? As numbers don't lie, Gambian life expectancy for men is under 65. Meaning if you are 30 years old as a man, statistically, you have lived half of your life already. And the reality is, to take it to the Gambian context, how many 30-year-old men in 2025 are financially stable? How many 30-year-old men even have the means to marry a wife, let alone leave their parents' homes? So it's taken us till 45 sometimes to really self-actualize a little bit. And oftentimes you may only have, 10 years to 15 years left on your life. So you're living your entire life for 15 years as well too. So the only thing you could give yourself a fighting chance is taking control of your life and taking control of your health and not being afraid of a diagnosis. Because whether you accept it or not, it's still going to be there. It's still going to be there.
I like that. Take control of your health. So that would be one advice you put on a sticky note for all men out there.
And women as well. Because if you have a significant other, every man is motivated by one or two women in their lives.
True.
Oftentimes, if you speak to that one or two women that influences the mother, sometimes it could be the mother or the significant other. All men have a circle of influence that are women. So the women need to start forcing the man to prioritize their health, because the outcomes of the man influences that of the woman as well.
Okay. So just one final one from me. So if exercise was a prescription, what would the dosage be for men?
At least 3 times a week. You don't have to train the way I train. Most people that see me on social media think I'm training for the special forces, right? Just move.
Low. That is low though. I thought it would be more than that. That is quite low for men.
Well, they say if you aim at the sky, you fall on the trees. If you aim at the trees, you fall. But to be honest, if you cannot exercise, fast. I'm such a huge component of fasting, because I fast every single day for 18 hours. I only eat for a 6-hour window. So even if I don't have time because you're working, because exercise is a privilege, especially you guys live in the diaspora, for you to carve out 1 hour of your time and go to a gym is a privilege. But if you don't, and you have a sedentary lifestyle, if you cannot move, restrict how you eat. The death spiral is if you don't restrict what you eat and you're not moving, right? But for men, if you could just get about 150 minutes a week of strength training or just moving, it does a lot of good as well. For people that are more fitness enthusiasts, 5 days a week is great. Don't overwork yourself, because you also don't want to overtrain and cause injury. But if you can make it to the gym every, 3 to 5 days in the week, that's more than healthy. And if you have a partner, once again, couples that work out together, the relationship is better as well too. So if you have a community, most men have group of friends, just make fitness a priority, because it's cheaper than medicine. It's so much cheaper than insulin. So much cheaper than insulin. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. And anybody who looks at Lamin knows that he stays fit. So as we also get older, people know if you're taking care of yourself, and it just looks good. Most men that take care of themselves when they're 30s and in their 40s, you separate from the pack when you're 50, where universally people see you as a healthy person. And it's actually a sign of discipline. Because most people, if you don't take care of yourself, they shouldn't trust you as much, because if God gave you one body to take care of and you abuse it, you're going to abuse somebody else. It's just natural that you're going to abuse it. So I'm just saying, I don't say I judge people, but I judge people that don't take care of themselves.
Well, thanks for the compliment, Doc.
Wow. I've never looked at it that way, but that's giving me a different view of it now.
Yeah.
You have one body. Like literally only one body that you need to take care of, and you're not taking care of it. So who am I to think you're going to take care of me better, and you don't take care of yourself?
Now there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Thank you.
Good.
Oh man, but yes, and NAWEC definitely in Gambia, it requires a lot of exercise just dealing with NAWEC in itself.
The light system in Gambia.
Yeah, but no, exercise is medicine. I'm such a fitness fanatic. I've been an athlete my entire life. And especially, I'll say this, the older you get, the more you need to start protecting your muscles. Mm-hmm. Most of our parents don't need to they need to strength train. Mm-hmm. Strength training now, the science that is coming out in terms of exercise is more powerful, even for people dealing with mental health issues. If you work out at least 3 to 5 times a week, you are less likely to face depression. You're less likely to have heart conditions. You're less likely to have diabetes and hypertension. So movement is the new medicine. It's medicine 3.0. Anybody, if you follow the science, the wearable devices now that are coming out with Whoop, it's telling you the science. We have to move because human beings were not designed to have access to this much food, this much sugar. So genetically, we used to have to work so hard for food that you would not be sick. So when people say there's so much diabetes now, yes, because we have an overabundance of access to food and sugar. And even the food that we eat, before you had to eat a whole orange where you had to peel it, it's mixed with fiber. Now you just need to open a can of Fanta, drink it, and then you have 33 grams of sugar in your blood within 15 minutes, right? So we just need to understand that human evolution, God did not design us to eat as much as we do. He designed for us to feast and famine. That's how the human body was designed. You go through a period of famine, fasting, and then you feast. But we feast 3 times a day because the human body actually doesn't need breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That was a marketing. It was designed by marketing companies to sell cereal, but most people don't need 3 meals a day.
Wow. I always say that. The body don't need 3 meals a day.
No.
I always argue about that, and I'm into my fitness as well, trying to encourage women to get into it as well, because it does help, and even just your own mental health as well. Because sometimes people see you go exercising all the time. Oh, what are you training? What are you exercising for? You are quite slim. I'm not exercising to lose weight. It's all for my mental health because it does really help. Yeah.
Absolutely. All
right. Thank you.
Lovely. So we are just over an hour, but it's just the next segment is just a bit of fun to close the program with. So we've got just random questions that obviously hopefully you'll find easy to answer before we close the program. So I'll start with the first one. Should you is it believe that should you finish a course of antibiotic? Because you're a healthcare provider, and there's a myth is when you're taking antibiotics and then you feel, oh yeah, I'm well now, you don't finish, you just leave it and then go on. Should you finish or should you not?
You always should. And because too many people don't, the next pandemic is coming and it's going to be antibiotic resistance. That's not a matter of if it happens, it's a matter of when it happens. A day will come where the average person will get sick. And when you go to the hospital, they cannot find an antibiotic that could cure the illness. Just think about how scary that is. Because bacteria are like human beings. They're fighting for survival. So anytime you don't finish your antibiotic, it's like when you almost kill something, but you don't. What happens when they give you a vaccine? I always tell people the vaccine and how our human body treats vaccine. Small enough of a dose for you to remember it, and you build your immune system so next time when you see it, you could fight it better. Bacteria does the same thing with antibiotics. If you don't give it all of it, which is the full dose, you give it just enough to recognize it. So the next time you bring in that same, machinery to kill it, it's already evolved and it's become resistant to it. So anytime somebody doesn't finish the antibiotics, you're making it harder for your body to use the antibiotics later on because it's going to remember it.
Yeah. And sugar causes diabetes?
100%. And when I say sugar, bread is sugar. Rice is sugar. Anything that has starch is sugar, but white sugar is poison. That I cannot, I've been waging war on sugar because I feel like if you minimize sugar alone, your heart is going to be healthier. Diabetes will not happen. So as a kid, I could understand it. But now I judge adults who just eat sugar too much because I'm just like, you're drinking poison. Even heart disease now, there's a direct correlation between the amount of sugar that you consume and how likely you are to have heart disease. So it's just poison. Sugar is poison.
What's your take on brown sugar, though, quickly?
It's better. For me, less is more.
Okay.
Less is more. Every human being, you could take added sugar. Brown sugar is added sugar.
Yeah.
They'll tell you oftentimes for a man, don't go over, I think, 9 teaspoons of sugar. For a female, you want to keep around 6 teaspoons of sugar, right?
Per day?
So per day.
No, right.
But I tell people, one can of Coke has your entire day supply. One can.
Wow.
Right. So that just gives you context, right? And sometimes it's not Coke, it's Baobab, it's Wanja, it's all the things that we drink. But if you were to choose, sure, it's still sugar. So if you only take about, let's say, 2 teaspoons of sugar in the entire day, it doesn't matter if it's white sugar, right? Your body's going to burn it in a natural way. It becomes a problem when it's excessive, right? But yeah, brown sugar, I'm a fan. Stevia, I'm a fan. Artificial sugar, I am not a fan.
What about honey?
Honey, amazing. Honey, once again, it just takes time before your bloodstream gets it. Honey is natural. I tell people to stay away from artificial sweetness, though, because it tricks your brain sometimes to increase your appetite. But if you have to choose between Diet Coke and Coke, take Diet Coke. Just don't drink it as much as possible.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's a question. There's a question I just want to answer in terms of how often should somebody check their kidney function test? At least once a year. At least once a year. If you start having kidney decline or you're a kidney patient, it could be more frequent. But at the bare minimum, once a year, you need to check your kidney function, your liver function, your cholesterol level, your blood sugar level. Yeah.
Interesting. A couple more. You can't be healthy if you're overweight. Coach and Co. If you're overweight.
It's very hard to be healthy if you are overweight, because being overweight means you have a metabolic imbalance, meaning your body has to work harder to keep the engine going, right? Yeah. And oftentimes there's some correlations to it, meaning you start having more fat around your organs, which is a sign of disease. Your body becomes more insulin resistant, which leads to diabetes. So it's just very difficult for you to live a healthy life when you have excess weight, but also the pressure that it puts on your joints, right? That's key, because oftentimes just losing, I think, 1 pound of weight removes almost 4 pounds of pressure from your knees. So think about the excess on your joints, just carrying a lot of weight. It's very challenging to be healthy for a very long time when you're heavy set. Yeah.
Right. We're running out of time, so just one last question. I wouldn't go through all of the questions, but how do you decompress after a long, hard day at work?
I work out.
Great.
So if you see how I train, you will think something's wrong with me, right? Because I'm used to putting my body through discomfort, because I understand the trade-off. Every time I work out, I'm going to get some endorphins, which is almost like a pain reliever. So in Gambia, it also allows me, because you could be as aggressive as you want to be inside the gym. That's the only place where aggression actually pays off, right? But anybody who works out knows.
I see your boxing sessions.
I do. But you know something too, it's hard to think when you're about to die and you need oxygen to breathe. So no matter how much stress you have, you give yourself 1 hour where you could just train. And obviously I do other things as well too. I believe in prayer. I believe in meditation. So I do a lot of things to kind of help protect my mental space. But exercise is medicine to me. If I don't exercise for 2 to 3 days, I'm more likely to actually go through a slight depression because the weight of everything that I'm doing really gets at me. So I don't play around with exercise.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thanks for very, very insightful conversation around those fun topics.
Absolutely.
I hope you still got 5 minutes.
I could give you 5 minutes and then I have to.
Great. Thank you so much. So have you ever had a patient who changed the way you practice medicine?
No, 100%. I've studied medicine, especially medications. It's funny because I don't believe in medications the way people think I do. Most of my success stories with patients who have diabetes and hypertension, lifestyle modifications work better than medications. But that's a caveat. If you are borderline, there's some people you cannot live without medications. I'm one of them. If you look at my lifestyle modification, technically, if I didn't have a genetic predisposition, I shouldn't be hypertensive because I'm lean, I'm fit, and things of that nature. But seeing people who take control and lose weight, I have seen people stop taking insulin who are diabetic. I have seen people go from taking 3 medications a day to 1 medication a day. Not because the medication was working faster, it's because they changed their lifestyle and they got benefit as well too. And nutrition, changing the way they eat, because food is medicine, right? So many times I have countless patients where, especially if we catch you early, if you commit to lifestyle modifications, you could delay how many medications you're going to have to take. And time again, food and exercise are stronger forms of medicine than any pharmaceutical product that's available, because those come with side effects as well, because there's no such thing as a medication without side effect. It does not exist.
Yeah, true.
Wow.
So Ismaila, if you were not a doctor today, what would you be?
A carpenter.
Oh, nice. Wow, that's very...
I still may be a carpenter. That's really how I envision retirement, by the way. Opening up a wood shop. I love building. I've always fell in love with woodwork, carpentry. I think it's so beautiful to take a process that was something that was a tree and repurpose it to something that has use. I am such a big fan. I used to love technical drawing when I was in high school. I still do a lot of woodwork projects in my spare time. And I think I would be an excellent carpenter because I like working with my hands as well. So it's not if I wasn't, I still may end up going into carpentry once I'm tired of, healthcare, because I'm not going to be in healthcare forever. Even technically, I don't practice healthcare as much as I do run a business. Now I understand it, I've done it, but yes, carpentry. A carpenter.
Interesting.
For sure. Yes.
Interesting. So we're coming to the end, but what's one thing that you wish that every listener today, every viewer today will take away from this episode?
If you love yourself, find out how healthy you are. It doesn't take long. It takes investing in yourself. If you love somebody in Gambia that you haven't seen for a very long time, invest to find out how healthy they are. If they're healthy every year, make that investment. If they're not, find out if it's a chronic condition and put them on a plan that you could guarantee that you would find them healthy and alive the next time you come to Gambia. That's just essential. The earlier you do it, the cheaper it is for you. But we have a responsibility to ourselves if we want to keep living a long and prosperous life. So especially for our men in November, every single day should be about men's health. But if you feel froggy in November, definitely reach out and just find out, how healthy am I? And if the outcome is positive, man up to it. If the outcome is negative, man up to it and know that you could control it. That's just one thing I wish, to leave everybody who's watching. But, healthcare, we could do a lot of work to just make it a whole lot easier. Great.
Thank you. Invest in your health. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ismaila. Thank you. Thank you for coming on this show tonight. Actually, you've left us with so much insight. We've learned a lot. I in particular, I've learned a lot, and I hope our viewers have learned a lot as well. You at the beginning, you said opportunity sets you in a growth mindset. Problem focus you in a victim mindset. So try and be in the growth mindset where you're looking at opportunities as a growth mindset. Take control of your health. Make fitness a medicine. Movement is the new medicine. I like that, actually. Keep moving, because that's what's going to help you with your health. And food is medicine. That is true. Invest in your health, finally. So great, amazing, really great key takeaways for us all here tonight. We've learned a lot. I think at the beginning of the show, you did say, be passionate about the career that you choose.
Yep.
So that I hope that resonated with our viewers and anyone who's going to rewatch the show later. But thank you so much. As we come to the end of the show, thank you.
No, thank you guys. And as I mentioned before with the episode, really proud of the work that you guys are doing. I want to thank you on behalf of so many builders in the Gambia, because every opportunity to tell our story makes it easier for people outside of Gambia to see the work that we're doing. That is not easy. It's very challenging, but Gambia is our Gambia. So what you do is just as important as what we do. And being in the diaspora, anytime I have an opportunity, I tell the diasporans, thank you for the trust. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be on here, and I'll continue watching all the other episodes, because I think every episode that you guys have done is either somebody that I've worked with or part of something together. So it shows that you're finding the right people to give us, just share your platform with us. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
Thank you. So those are the final words from Ismaila Badjie today. Hopefully, our viewers, you have enjoyed it. And now we have come to the end of the show. It's a wrap. I'll let Lamin close the show.
Thank you, Ismaila. And thank you, my co-host, Kadi, for another fantastic episode of the Profile Show. Hopefully, our viewers have learned a thing or two, or taken something away from the conversation that we've had today with Ismaila Badjie. Somebody who is inspiring. His story, packing up, having a very, very comfortable life in the US, decided to go back home to set up a healthcare delivery company, making a real difference in the health services that the people of the Gambia are receiving up and down the country, from Koina to Katong, or from Katong to Koina. The Profile Show exists to help inspire the younger generation to take up responsible career routes with a view to having an impact on our country. So hopefully you've taken something away from this, and we'd like to thank you very much for sticking around over the last hour to witness or to watch the conversation that we've had with Dr. Ismaila Badjie, the founder and CEO of 𝐓𝐸𝐹 Global Health, a very unique healthcare provider in the Gambia. On that note, thank you very much for being with us. We'll hopefully see you in the next episode, which is going to be in December. That will be the last one for the year, and we'll see you the other side of 2026. Thank you very much for watching. Good night, wherever you might be watching us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.